Welcome back to A Moment in History. I'm Seth Udinski. Tonight, let's take a journey back into American history and explore one of the more baffling and quite unpopular presidents in the United States. This man was tasked with the difficult responsibility of rebuilding, or more appropriately, reconstructing the United States in the years following the devastating American Civil War. He was Andrew Johnson, the 17th President of the United States. Many historians rightly remember Johnson as a bumbling figure in American history. But before he sat in the Oval Office, he was a vital piece of Abraham Lincoln's campaign in the 1864 presidential election. Now keep in mind, in 1864, the nation was still at war, and Lincoln's victory in the 1864 election was vital to the preservation of the Union and the destruction of slavery in the Union. Abraham Lincoln was the perfect man for the job in guiding the United States through the destructive war while also eradicating slavery. And if he had been voted out of the Oval Office in 1864, it is very likely that a more passive or even pro-slavery candidate would have been elected, and a man such as this would have perhaps bowed to Confederate wishes and lost the war and the Union. Lincoln had to win, and his choosing of Andrew Johnson, a Southern Democrat who strongly opposed secession but was pretty lukewarm on the issue of slavery, was vital to gaining votes from moderate Republicans and pro-Union Democrats. Johnson was no giant like the wildly popular and respected Lincoln, but he could fill an important role assisting the president in reuniting the nation following the Union victory in the war. Sadly, history tells us that Lincoln barely lived to see the Union restored. He was murdered in cold blood by Confederate sympathizer John Wilkes Booth just 4 days after the Confederates surrendered at Appomattox, and Johnson was forced into the role of restoring the nation as president. Johnson proved to be a bumbling and foolish leader who cared far too much about appeasing Southern post-war interests than about true reconciliation between North and South. Johnson vetoed several civil rights laws in his time in office from 1865 to 1869, including some that would have granted African Americans citizenship had they been passed into law. The bills were eventually pushed through, but the damage was done. At last, the House of Representatives voted to impeach the president, marking the first time in American history that a president would be tried for impeachment. As it turns out, Johnson was not impeached, as the necessary 2/3 majority to vote him out missed by a single vote, but his days as president were numbered. In the 1868 election, he lost to the beloved Union war hero Ulysses S. Grant. Despite his political failures, though, he managed to re-enter the Senate in early 1875, where he served for 5 months before he died of a stroke at the age of 66 on July 31st, 1875. Thanks so much for joining me once again for A Moment in History. Well, if you enjoyed this video, let us know by commenting down below. And for more historical content, just hit subscribe. I'm Seth Udinski, and I will see you next time on A Moment in History.